Hello friends, we're back after our summer vacation. Stable Moments is a 10-month program, so many of our locations take their 2-month break in the middle of summer. Others do it in like winter or whatever because that just makes sense for weather where they're at. But our Stable Moments mentor sessions are structured with color-coded, trauma-informed life skill activities, but some locations seek activities that are more tailored towards kids who are about to age out of foster care or are transitioning into adulthood. So today, I want to discuss some age-appropriate life skill activities that prepare kids for the real world. So I'm gonna roll that intro and we'll dive in. I'm Rebecca Britt, and this is the Stable Moments podcast. I started this podcast to understand from all perspectives how we can help end the foster care crisis. The overwhelming response was we need to support our local communities. Unwanted, abandoned, orphaned children are the community's responsibility. We must support, guide, love, invest, raise up generations that will nurture, love, and support their own children to end this crisis. So, the purpose of this podcast is to build an army of people that are interested and willing to take responsibility of our foster youth and who are supportive of foster and adoptive families. This is the on-ramp for people who want to get involved but might not know where to start. I want this to be a place where community members feel like they can make a difference, where they feel good enough to make that difference, and believe that they can be a big deal in the life of a child. Thanks for being part of our community, and make sure to join the conversation in the Stable Moments podcast Facebook group. Together, we can end the foster care crisis. Before we get started today, go check out our free webinar. It is how to launch a mentorship program for kids in foster care. You can find that at stablemoments.com/webinar. All right, so we want to engage kids in activities that are supportive of them transitioning into adulthood, right? And if you're in a Stable Moments location or you mentor a kid or you just want to help kids build some life skills, and we're probably talking like 16 to 21, then you can start always by focusing on their interests. So you want to focus on what's interesting to them. So sitting a kid down and saying, we're going to develop your life skills because you need to be an adult and you need to do all this stuff is not going to work, right? So really what you want to do is take on a lens of curiosity. And you want to ask them to offer up the information. You don't want to tell them what they're interested in or tell them what might be a good route for them or tell them how to live their life, right? Ain't gonna work. But you want them to get curious about it. And how you help them get curious about it is you remain curious about it. Because when we're thinking about like, what could you do? Or what might you want to do, or what are you interested in? It should be a really expansive exercise, right? Like the world is really your oyster when you're starting to think about what experiences do you want to experience, what might you be interested in, what might you want to do. And if you've gotten to know this kid, then you may know very well some of the things that they're interested in. Like if they're into music or they're into woodworking or they're into cooking or just things that you've seen that they're good at, how can we hone those interests into skills that can be things that can put them on a path to a possible education or career? So first, we're going to simply focus on their interests. So if you have not yet really sat down with your kid and had them list out all of the things that they're interested in. And we do this with younger kids with like the About Me board where we actually cut out and make a collage of things that they are interested in. But if you want to just do like a list of things, and this is a good way to start exercising the muscle of getting curious and being really inclusive of everything, right? Because a lot of times, even if you ask yourself like, what am I interested in? I'm like, horses. You know, it's like, I can't think of, I don't know. So it's what are you interested? It's what are you good at, right? Because usually when we're good at something, we also enjoy it. So you might need to really sit and help them develop this list. but everything can go on this. So this can be like, if they're into woodworking, if they're into drawing, if they're into arts, crafts, if they're into sports, if they're into video gaming, if they're into computers, if they're into writing. All of these things are things that you can write down. You can also list skills like, you're really good with people. You're really good with little kids. Because that might be like something like they want to work with people. They might want to get into customer service, right? Oh my gosh, you are so into fashion. So maybe you have a girl that draws. So she's a great artist, but she really only draws like dresses and different outfits and stuff like that. So maybe like, thinking about, oh, you're into clothing, you're into fashion. So be kind of expansive. It's not just the drawing, right? It's like, what is that drawing about? And what are the specifics? What are all the different strengths and interests that we can pull out from the things you know about what your kid does and what they do well, what you've seen. And you can just start that conversation out with like, you know what? I see how good you are with your siblings. I see how good you are with little kids. Like, do you like interacting with little kids? Because they might be like, you might say I'm good, but I don't want to do anything with little kids, right? So ask, like, I've seen this from you. Is that something that interests you? Could you see yourself doing that? Okay. So you want to get this good list going and then think about what skills go along with that. So if you make this list and you notice cooking's on there or you notice woodworking's on there, then let's start engaging them in some of those activities and building up those skills, because they might be interested, but they've never done it before. Or maybe you're having a really hard time coming up with the list, right? They're like, I just don't know what I'm good at. This is a great time to like try a bunch of stuff. Okay, we are going to try cooking something. And if you're in a position or a situation where like you don't have access to a kitchen, get really creative about putting things together, building something. I don't know, like a fruit cake, or, they make some of those cute like Halloween things where they have like 2 pieces of apple and peanut butter and little marshmallows for the teeth and eyes. There's things that you can do that are in the realm of cooking or food preparation that doesn't need a kitchen. So explore some things like that. Get them a birdhouse set to build. See if building something that they like. Using tools, doing sports, engage them in those things to see if they're good at them. And if there's things that they want to try, like you could just put a column of interests that are like, I'd like to try this, but I don't know if I like it. And then bring up a new thing each week. And then let's go through the list and say like, we tried that, we didn't like it. And you can even try like working with other people or serving people, because you could make something like, let's say that you make a pot holder, or you make a drawing, or you make a picture frame or something. And then you could go like, oh, I'm going to actually make this for somebody else that's here, or somebody that we want to make it for, or our parent or whatever. And then we're going to gift it and we're going to give it to them. So then that could be strengthening their interpersonal skills, or strengthening if they want to work somewhere like in retail, or where they do things or give things to other people. Okay. So now that you have like what you might do, and you have a list, let's like come up with 3 things. Like we're going to try cooking, we're going to try woodworking, we're going to try a science experiment. We're going to try, I don't know, like you could create a graphic design logo or something, like whatever they're into. Then you want to engage them from start to finish in the process of doing that thing. So if, let's say we were going to get them like a birdhouse so that they could work on woodworking and see if they're interested in that. Well, don't just go like buy a birdhouse. You can, but you could buy a kit and have them do it. And that's kind of fun. But we could do that with younger kids. Now that they're older and we're actually thinking about life skills that will help them figure if this is something that they really want to do in their life, Then walk them through the whole process. Like, okay, we want to build something. Okay, we want to build a bench. We want to build a birdhouse. We want to build whatever we want to build. What do you want to build? Ask them, like, what do you think would be a cool thing to build out of wood? Okay, you want to build a bench and you want to build a bench for this facility. Amazing. That is ambitious of you. So where do we get wood? How much does wood cost? Who pays for the wood? Okay. So just getting them like to think it's like, how could this come about if we wanted to do this? And, let's get really creative. Could you, if you're part of a nonprofit, could you ask for donations to build the bench? Do they have extra wood sitting around? I know that I used to work at, plenty of farms that just had like wood out back that was like scrap wood from the fences or whatever. Could we make that? What do we need to do about safety when we're building a bench? Like, we need to make sure that this bench people can sit on it and be safe. So it's like, think about all those things with the kid and bring them through the process of like, what do we need to think about first? What do we need to think about second? How many weeks is it going to take us just to get to like getting the materials? Like, do we need to do a fundraiser? Like, build a fundraiser with the kids so that they have to build the fund and then go in, now we've got the materials and what do we do next? And what's the whole plan? So draw out the whole plan. Same thing with like cooking or food preparation. What are you going to prepare? How do you choose your recipe? Who's paying for those items? How do we get the money to do those items? I don't want you to like hit a snag where it's like, oh, well, there's no budget for that. We can't do that. I want you to be like, well, how do we get the money for that? Or what could we do that would be within our budget? Okay? So you really want to like involve them and stretch out this opportunity for them to understand what using your strengths and interests take. Okay? Because I think that we can all, if you've lived any amount of life, or at least I know, like, I think a lot of things are really, really cool ideas. And then I do them and I realize how much work they are and I realize how much money they take and they're not so much fun anymore. So we want to like find something that really works for them and set them up for success in that. And once they have that experience, that will be invaluable, especially if by the end of that, they're like, that was fun. Now I figured out what I like to do and now I'm going to move forward with that. Okay? Now let's talk about career development. So if they are, you've done this and you're like, wow, this person really wants to do this one thing and they have a good idea of that, obviously you can go with that and determine like, is this going to take schooling or is this something that you can get in entry level now, and really brainstorm all the options that there are that are related to that. One exercise that I'd like to share with you that you can do for career development is what I used to do when I worked with severe and persistent mentally ill adults straight out of college. And we did evidence-based supported employment. And basically what we did was we created a sheet. Back then we probably used like Post-it board. And we did one column of all of their interests, everything they're interested in. So this was like animals, gaming, parks, nature, fishing, like all of the things, right? Anything that they're interested in and that they have a hobby and that they like. Okay? And then in the second column, every job in the world that pertains to that. So imagine that. So like with fishing, there could be, oh, I'm going to charter a boat. I'm a fishing guide. There could also be like working at hatcheries and being in the parks department. If another interest was gaming, there could be being an actual like paid professional gamer, if those are a thing. There could be a YouTube channel because those game streaming YouTube channels are profitable, some of them. There could be working like customer service for a gaming company. There could be developing the games. So whatever that takes, animation, like whatever that takes, there's a whole bunch of jobs you could do under gaming. with music, it's like, okay, yes, you could be a musician, but you could also work at a music shop. You could also teach guitar at a school, so there's so many different things. So every single strength or every single interest, go ahead and create the brainstorm of all the jobs that are possibly related to that job. Okay. Now there's a third column, and that third column actually starts listing out businesses in the local area. And now that we have remote work, it doesn't need to be in the local area. So you could do a lot of, searching or whatever for remote positions as well. But we're going to actually look for places of employment that we can reach out to and jobs that we could apply to. So if it's like animals, I love animals, and there's a local barn in the area that you could go muck stalls at. There's a pet store you could work at. There's a vet. Okay, so we're going to start thinking about, do any of those have like entry-level positions that we could get into? So listing out all of the things. If they're into culinary or cooking, there's going to be a whole bunch of restaurants in your area that they could get into, right? And they could do an entry-level position there, or they could spend time in the kitchen. But the whole point of this is that those positions were developed out of their interests. And it also, that middle column really helped them understand the possibilities that there were. And it also helps them understand that a lot of people, it's very valuable to have the experience in the field to be able to climb that career ladder. So if you might just be starting as a dishwasher, even though you want to be a cook, but getting in that kitchen, seeing how it works is invaluable. It shows other employers that you guys get it. But the kids might not get it. You might of course you just want to be a therapist right off the bat. Well, let's start working in a daycare, or let's start working with kids, or, so there are small steps that we can take. And this is very practical. This starts with, what are you interested in? What are all the jobs we could possibly do that are related to those interests? And then what are the specific businesses that we can reach out to try to land a job that's related to your interests? Okay? That way, and it's called evidence-based supported employment because it is evidence-based that when somebody's job, occupation is tied to something that they are interested in, that they feel a sense of meaning and a sense of purpose, and they are much more likely to keep that job than just saying, oh, let's start with who's hiring. Okay, so that's career development. Another big life skill for kids aging out, kids 16 to 21, whatever, financial literacy. You've got to teach kids, what do they do with money? And money, especially as it relates to childhood trauma, can be such a difficult thing for kids to navigate, because now they have money, maybe they are getting a stipend, maybe they do get a job, and then it's like, what do I do with the money? Because there may be a lot of things in childhood that they didn't have access to, and now they can just go to the grocery store and they have some money to spend, and they're going to buy all the stuff that they wish they could add, right? So again, we want to tie financial literacy to some of the things that they want. So again, this is like a conversation. What do you want? What do you see for yourself? What kind of house do you want to live in? What kind of car do you want to drive? What job do you want? Okay, you want to have this job. How are you going to get to that job? Do you need a car? How much does a car cost? How many weeks of working at this $1 an hour would you need to save up to get that car? So just starting to think about, what are the basic things that we need, and how much money would we need to take in to get there? And budgets, especially with such low income that kids are coming, any kid would have, can be really overwhelming, and really it feels like this isn't going to work, right? So really getting curious with them about, how can we make this work? Oh, maybe we're going to need 3 roommates, right? Or maybe we're going to need 2 jobs. What's the reality? But is it possible, and can we do it? And making sure that we see that they paint a picture that they realize that they can do it. Okay. I strongly suggest Dave Ramsey's financial literacy. He has ones for kids and ones for high schoolers. And I don't know, but I almost wonder if you didn't reach out, if you're a nonprofit, and ask for a copy of that if you couldn't get it. But I think if you could get somebody to donate one copy of the high school curriculum or whatever, and offer that up to your kids, I think that would be amazing. I think that just understanding about credit cards and debt and living below your means is essential for everyone, actually. Okay, so finally, we want to prioritize a relationship, right? So while you're going through this, I can't stress enough that it's not sitting down with the kid and saying, time for you to prepare to... It's like, this is so exciting. Like, you are so independent. Like, I want to know, like, what do you want to do? What are your interests? Where do you see yourself working? How do you think you're going to get there? Those are all amazing ideas. I love all those ideas. Let's get them out on paper. Like, let's make them possible. Let's do that through some planning. Let's do that through some executing, like actually doing those things here. Developing those skills here. They can use things like that on their resume or in interviews. If you've been working on some of those skills, but they don't have any work history, they can use that. So like, it all needs to be like, I think you're amazing at this, or I want to hear from you what you're interested in. Let's build out the plan for that. I'm here for you. And really giving them a solid foundation of confidence that they can do what they're interested in, and just helping them navigate like the practical hows. Okay. And finally, I want, it's always good to have a binder of resources or a bunch of resources. So whatever it is in your area, what's most important for kids in transition are housing, education, and employment. Transportation's another really big one. And then you've got food, you've got clothing. So what are your resources for kids aging out in your area? And what do they offer? I know that we have a great Ways for Life is right in our area, and they do GED, they do housing vouchers. So I would make like a complete pass off right to them and like make sure that they get connected and hooked up and that they have their case manager through there. But any resources that you do have where a kid is able to get housing, or that maybe they do need their GED, maybe they need, to get into community colleges, what's around there, what are the services or the government programs that they have to help kids in housing, education, employment, and then transportation. Okay, because there's a lot of programs, and there are things that kids aging out of foster care qualify for. So just like do your own research and your own work and see what is there to pass up, and just have that resource binder if you're running a facility. And then, of course, if you're a parent, I'm sure you're looking into all those things anyway. Or if you're connected with somebody that's already like a case manager or whatever, I'm sure they already have all of those resources. Just make sure that you've made an exhaustive list and you know what you can possibly offer, because these kids can take anything that they can get. They surely deserve it, and we want them to stand strongly on their 2 feet. Okay, I hope that helps. Start brainstorming, start getting excited, lean into their interests, and then show them what that might look like. Start developing those interests with actual activities. When you get excited about that, figure out what jobs are possibly out there where they could hone those interests, or they could decide, do I really like even doing this? Ask them about what education they see or what they want to do, and just support them. Start having the conversation. That's really where you need to start, and then help them navigate executing a plan and creating that plan. Okay? All right. Hope this was helpful. Don't forget to grab that free webinar that we have, stablemoments.com/webinar. And until next time, thank you so much for your service to this world and being a big deal in the life of a child.